Hi guys, it's Lindsay with Mad Woman Making. Today we are diving into the world of throw pillows. Alright, so if you're still with me, we have talked about stuffings, we have talked about measuring, we are ready to move on to cutting our fabric, getting it marked up, and getting behind the sewing machine. If you missed the last video, I kind of talked about a few different approaches for measuring and kind of where you want to end up at so that you have enough fabric to sew it together without it looking squished or too tight, but not so much that you end up with a very loose and baggy pillow cover. We're going to be cutting 2 squares of fabric exactly at 18 inches by 18 inches. A heat erasable pen. I have recently discovered the friction pens. These are amazing because all you have to do is run a hot iron over your fabric and all of the marks disappear. I've got my top and bottom fabric. We're gonna have the citron green on one side and we're gonna have this ivory velvet on the other side. She wanted to be able to flip the pillow both directions. So I wanted to do an invisible zipper so that the front and back look exactly the same and you won't be able to actually tell where the zipper is. All right, so the first thing I like to do is inspect my fabric. Does it have any stretch in either direction? If your fabric does, a lot of times it will have stretch in one direction, but maybe not the other direction. If you have the option, depending on the pattern of the fabric, to put the zipper on a side that is not stretchy, so if this side was stretchy and this side is not stretchy, then I'm going to want to use this edge for my zipper, just so that I don't have the headache of dealing with the stretch and getting a wavy zipper. So neither of my fabrics have any stretch to them, which is great. I noticed on this green velvet fabric, edges are starting to fray already and I have barely touched it. So before I start sewing, I'm actually gonna run all 4 sides of this through my serger. If you don't have a serger, you can actually just run the fabric through your sewing machine using a straight stitch or a very teeny tiny zigzag stitch. That's just going to keep the edges from fraying. You can also use pinking shears, which I know a lot of people like to do to stop that fabric from fraying. I'm going to show you how I kind of plan for the zipper and mark up the fabric on this ivory piece. We are going to take our quilter's ruler or this see-through acrylic ruler. I love these. If you do not have one, I would suggest putting that at the top of your wish list because they are incredibly handy to have in the sewing room. I am going to line up my ruler so that the hard edge is sitting on the fabric. And I can see through my ruler, so I know that I've got the edge of the fabric right at that 1/2 inch mark. And then I'm just going to use this heat erasable pen, and I'm going to mark that fabric up all the way down the side. I'm going to do that to all 4 sides. I've got that marked all the way around. Okay, so just to help you guys visualize, I actually have written on the back of this cover, top, bottom, left, right. That is something I actually do quite a bit when I'm doing upholstery projects because a lot of cushions and parts of the chair that you're putting back together do have a top and a bottom, or they have a direction that they need to go. So I make notes on the back of fabric all the time. That's why I love these pens. So this bottom edge is where we're going to put this invisible zipper. Along this bottom line here that I've made at that 1/2 inch mark, I'm just going to come in 2 inches from the edge of the fabric. I'm going to make a little mark there. I'm going to do the same thing on the second side. So I've got the left side and the right side. So I'm going to make a second mark at that 1.5 inch line right there. Again, do the same thing on the other side. So now we have the edge of the fabric. We have a mark at the 1.5 inch and then at the 2 inch. When I am doing an invisible zipper on a cushion cover, I always like to try and get the zipper longer than the cushion cover if I can, and I will show you why. What I want to do is I want to actually find the very center of my zipper. And I'm going to use the pen on on the top side of the zipper and mark that halfway point. I'm then going to flip it over. I'm going to mark it again on the back side. Line the zipper on top of the fabric. So just lay it across the top of the fabric here. And I'm going to transfer the marks that I've made from the fabric onto the zipper by just lining everything up. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to make sure that I have the same marks on the front and the back. And as long as you have a heat erasable pen, then all of this is going to disappear. So now we've kind of reviewed over cutting the fabric, checking the fabric, marking the fabric, marking the zipper, and now we are ready to take it into the sewing machine. I'm going to show you how to put in an invisible zipper. All right, I'm going to grab all my stuff, meet you in the sewing room.